All right, we should be live. Welcome back. It's Trader XO once again with a weekly Bitcoin review, or midweek, I should say. How are you all? And just before we proceed, I just want to make sure that you can hear me okay and that you can see my screen. Just give me a quick confirmation in the chat, please. All right, brilliant. Thank you very much. Good to see the usual faces. So in today's stream, we'll review Bitcoin and just a general overview of the markets. But before we proceed, as always, anything said in today's video is not financial advice. It is just my view of the market. Special shouts out to my stream sponsors, OK Exchange, who have been a great platform, and it's a platform that I now trade my crypto. So let's kick off on the stream. First thing that we will do is essentially focus on Bitcoin. And in doing so, the first tool that I want to bring up is just Trading Lights, which is something that I use to check the order books and kind of a heat map, which is an overlay of where resting bids and asks are in the books, essentially. But there's really not a great deal that's happening, or that has happened over the last several days. We've been in this price range for approximately, I think, 7-8 days now, and I think, you know, it's just waiting. It's just a matter of waiting for price to resolve one way or another over the coming days. I was hoping that we would see some action heading into today's stream. I deferred Monday's stream, decided to reschedule today, but here we are. We're still contained within this range bound environment where price is essentially being capped by that 65, 66K level. And you can see in terms of the book depth, there's around about 7,000 Bitcoin on the ask side. And in terms of support, we're looking at anywhere between 61 to 62 in terms of depth. So it's evidently clear where price is currently capped. So we've got a spot of bids resting there between 59 and 60. Then we've also got this segment here between 61.5 and 62, which is kind of containing price. The majority of the price action has been between that 62.5 and that 64.8, just under 65K. So the question is, what happens next? How do we plan for this? Now, essentially, as I shared on the previous week's stream, one of the setups that I'm looking for is, I talked about the fact that I'm not really overly eager to take any shorts just yet in the market. However, if I see a spike up into that 65, 66K region, which is pushing up into here, running some of the stops here, okay, taking some of this liquidity, and then pulls back into this short-term range, then I probably would take on a short opportunity looking for price to trade back into 61, 62K into the bid side, okay? Not something that's going to define the rest of my life or trading career. It is just a trade. All right? Now, equally, these asks may get pulled. I'll just have to see what the books does. And what I'm essentially looking for in this instance is price to push up into this level, open interest to spike up, okay? And longs piling in, but unable to push price. Should that happen, and price finds acceptance back below 65K again, then I think I may just take a stab at that. We'll see, okay? But ultimately, my preferred scenario is if price does subsequently roll over from this region here at 65, 64K into 61, 60, 59, wherever it's going to react, okay? We've got a key level of demand over here, okay? So if price does subsequently trade back into this level, okay, break this trend line, trade back down into here, that's going to be the area of interest. I'm not sure whether it's 61 point or 62 point something or 60 or 59, but somewhere in there is where I'd like to do my business, okay? So just looking at the books, you can see that there's a fairly decent ask on the ask side, and there's a fairly decent bit of depth on the bid side, which is essentially what's compressing price within this region. Okay. Let's move on to the charts. Now, moving on to the charts, I've talked about where currently I'm looking at in terms of order book depth. Okay, it's fairly similar on the other exchanges, so we won't really cover too much on what we're seeing on the other exchanges. But essentially, the key thing that I want to point out in this instance, and what is really important to me, is the fact that Bitcoin is now trading above the 1225 weekly EMAs, okay? What I would like to see is essentially price respect this zone, respect this level, okay? I don't mind if price happens to, at some point over the coming days or weeks, trades just below this. As long as it can get back above, that should be a good enough long trigger in terms of the context. Where I would probably be slightly reluctant to step into a long is if price starts trading back below the 1225 weekly EMA, then I would suggest that there's a possibility or a probability, but first we need to see it happen. It should price start trading below the level that we may get a deeper retracement back into that 55, 56k level. I'm hopeful, right? Hopeful that this is the level that holds. Okay, is that clear? And the key thing for me is contextually, the bands have never really death crossed or crossed over. So it's encouraging. It is encouraging as far as I'm concerned. And for that reason, my bias remains looking for longs, being patient, looking for longs, okay? And that's going to continue to be the plan. But I think what would be great is, let's just assume that we don't see much further volatility in the week, that price is still contained within this region. I think a weekly close above 61, 62k, even if it does happen to remain within this very short average true range between 64.8 and 62.45, you know, that's fairly promising. That's pretty decent. Okay. And that's the key thing for me. It's indecision, not sure where the market wants to go next, looking for long setups. Equally, you know, we could see the market pop up higher. Let's just take a step back and talk about high time frame. When you look at this, again, I've made a point where, is this really distribution, which many claim it to be a form of distribution? I'm not convinced it is, okay? I think this is more of a, yes, as I've covered on previous streams, it's a case of lower highs and lower lows, but it is still within this range-bound environment of 55.5 and the highs of 72k, all right? So essentially, we are respecting that yearly mid-level. If this is our yearly low, there's our yearly high. We respect the yearly mid-level. As long as price is contained above the yearly mid-level, and like I said, adverse scenario, should price start trading below the bands, we're still not a far distance away from the bands, okay? So there's still a possibility that, again, adverse scenario, should we break down lower, that the bands will continue going sideways, given an opportunity to get back into position from a long lower down from 56, from 57s, okay? And equally, once it gets back above, I think that then gives you the certainty that 1, 2, 3, 4 tests of the lower bound, but above the yearly mid-level, should be enough of a confluence to say, right, it's time to take it higher. Now, the key thing in terms of context is, I've used a range extension here. Does everybody understand how I've mapped out this range extension, looking for projections to the upside, such that if this is a consolidating pattern, there's a flagpole, there's a consolidation. When we do get a breakout, I'd be looking for a one-to-one extension, continuing higher. So first objective would be the 80k level. The second objective would be 90k. After that, we'll see what happens. But like I said, to even contemplate that, we really need to see a real significant volume and clearance above the 72k level to take us to that 80k level. All right. And the question you want to be asking is, do you really want to be fading that? Okay, we've had 3 attempts of the high time frame mid-level, or what is the range high? We've tested this level once, closed back below, and again, and again. A 4th test of that level, would be very, very interesting. And I'd have to go with the probability, as I've explained on previous examples, that when you see price trade below the 1221, only to reclaim back above it, consolidate, that often marks the continuation of a trend higher. So we'll just have to wait and see. And I think price is pretty much playing out as I've anticipated. I did say that I don't think we're likely to take off anytime soon. We could see a continuation of chop and range and rotational plays. But what that does give, if you looked at the timeline, if you looked at the feed, and it's really brought about some level of optimism with altcoins. We've seen altcoins perform well when Bitcoin's volatility is relatively contained. Altcoins are popping off. We've seen memes pop off with Bonk, a couple of others. Popcat is another one that comes to mind. Even you look at Sui, we've seen Say move off the low. So where alts are, I think that there's some really good opportunities setting up. And I think you have to be fairly optimistic for as long as Bitcoin and the rest of the market in terms of SPX and NASDAQ and some of the Mag 7 are continuing to maintain their structure, then I'm fairly optimistic for price over the coming weeks, heading into Q4, into October. But essentially, what I want you to really think about is context. So, you look at price and you think, well, if Bitcoin's going to trade above this level and find acceptance, what does that mean for the broader market? What does that mean for altcoins? Okay. Now, I can appreciate that many of you have some level of fear, or your emotions have probably been smashed due to price, especially in altcoins retracing 70-80%. But forget what's happened in the past. Look ahead of you. Look at the opportunity ahead, and try to think just one step ahead at a time. That should Bitcoin start trading above this level, find acceptance above there at some point, whether it's a pullback first and then continuation higher. What does that mean for the broader market? What does that mean for altcoins heading into Q4? What does that mean with the fact that we see an uptick in global liquidity? We see China cutting back on their rates and trying to stimulate their economy. So in terms of the narrative over the next few weeks, things are looking fairly prospectively good, but it may just drag on a little longer. All right. The next chart that I want to focus on is, the next indicator that I'd like to just quickly touch upon is the weekly stock RSI. So again, the way I see this is, if you followed my streams over the years, I do not want to be fading when momentum is likely to push or oscillate to the upside. Okay. So again, looking for opportunity to the upside here. Now, moving forward, let's start talking about trade setups. Using the levels that we've got from the higher time frames, we have a clearly defined key pivotal level at 68, 70K, where price hasn't really found acceptance above. You can see we've had a wick. We close above it for 1 week, traded back below. Another wick, another wick, another wick, and so forth. Okay. So in terms of a range, taking this swing high, we'll mark this in blue. Now we're purely talking about trade setup here. And taking this key pivotal level around about the yearly mid-level into this demand zone, that's the range where I'm looking to get back into a long. So I traded 54 to 61. I took a trade from 62 to 64s. Okay. When you look at the daily now, what is happening under the hoods? Okay. In terms of price, well, you can see that price is currently being capped by a level of resistance, as I've shown you in the order books. Okay. 65, 66. There's a bunch of asks there. And I think anybody shorting this, you'd have to be fairly frustrated, because you've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days of price action. Okay. And equally, I think anybody who's longing this from the lows of 54K and now you've decided to long into resistance, I just think there's far better setups than what we currently have in front of us. So I think the temptation has been there for me to punt on a short, but like I said, I just don't really fancy taking it on. And when you draw a key pivotal level, which I've identified on the chart earlier this week, this is the area. We'll mark this in, let's just say green for buying, okay? When you look at this in terms of inflection points, 1, okay? 2, 3, 4, right? Price traded below the level, got back above, rallied to where? That 65k level, okay? Found resistance, pull back into where? 60k. Same again, find support. And again, okay, resistance, lost the level, trades lower down, back into resistance, flips back above it. So for me, this is a key pivotal zone here. Is that clear? Look at the number of touch points. Buyers have always been stepping in at this level in most cases. Now let's drop into the 4-hour chart. We've defined our range high. We've defined our range low. We've defined our local resistance. We've defined this green line in terms of touch points and the level of confluence it offers. Now let's drop into the 4-hour chart. And I think this is where it starts to get interesting, okay? Because when you look at a price from this perspective, is that we've defined the range highs at 74k. We've defined the range lows at 53k. Let's take the mid of that level now. And you can see the mid is hovering at around about 63, 64k, okay? Kind of confluent with what we've got at 65, 66. So it's not too far off. Again, it's at the middle. I don't really want to be doing business when it's choppy in this nature or in this fashion. So I think in terms of long setups, should price break below this structure, I think, like I said, there could be one more possibility where we see a squeeze, taking out these highs, taking out any shorts that have opened up here, okay, and this high here, and then we may get a pullback. That isn't unusual in Bitcoin, where you get this compression into resistance, price trades above the level, long start piling in, they get absorbed by passive sellers, okay? And what do you see? Well, first of all, you're going to rattle these shorts, okay? So they're going to get stopped out, long start piling in. If they're unable to push price higher and price finds acceptance back below this key level, then I think there's a possibility that we trade back into that 61, 62k demand zone here. Okay, that's the zone that I'd like to see hold. That's the zone where the 12, 25 weekly EMAs are, possibly the 21s as well. This is where I'm looking for the trigger point. Okay, so coming to this level, show me a level of support, give me a swing point to establish a low, or even just below this level here, because we know historically the number of touch points this level has had, that I'm going to assume it's fairly safe to place my stop just below that level, depending where the swing point is, okay? It could even stop short. We may not get a deep sell-off into 60k. It may just stop short at 61, 62k. It may just run these lows here. Stop short, gets back above, then what do you do? That's the question you want to be asking yourself. So you got two scenarios here. One is a deeper pullback into 59, 60k, confluent with the 12, 21 or 25 EMAs. The second scenario is run these lows just below 62k, where we've also seen on the books in terms of trading light, the bids are fairly stacked there. As long as those bids are there and they're passive and sells, aggressors are hitting into those passive bids and they're being filled, okay, then that would give me a level of encouragement that maybe this might be the opportunity you look for price to take out these lows, to get back inside, then we can push up higher into that 69, 70k level, okay? That's what I'm thinking. Is that clear? Now, the question is, what happens if we don't spike the highs, we don't run the highs, we don't run the stops, we don't print a higher high? Again, it doesn't really change much for me whether the fact that we do print a higher high or not. I'm still looking for, if price does break down here over the coming days or whenever, again, this is a key level, then I think increases the probability that, look, trade below here, I think we possibly come to 61, 62k, hold the level. I'm looking for longs straight back above, up into 65, 66, 67, all right? Now, the third scenario, which is my least favorite, and I may be tempted to start taking some profits on some of my alt exposure is such that looking at price here, we're getting this compression into that 65k level. Should price close above it, shallow pullback, and then continue higher? When you look at the extension of the move from 53 to 70k, I think that's a fairly significant move into these highs. At that point, I probably will be taking profit on some of my alt exposures, especially on my futures account. And then at that point, I'd have to be looking for a pullback into that 65k level to see if that holds, okay? That's what I'm thinking. Back into the mid-level, essentially, is what I'm looking to see. All right? So they're kind of the three scenarios, the three trading scenarios. I'm not looking to long into resistance here. I just don't, it doesn't warrant it. I'm still maintaining my spot exposure. I'm still maintaining my spot positioning on altcoins. But in terms of futures trades, in terms of intraday trades or trades that I'm looking for on altcoins, I will be looking to take profit on some plays like Say, which I've got both a futures position and a spot position running. But that's what I have to work with. I'm not sure what much else there is to add to this. It doesn't have to be complicated or more complicated than it is. And they're the three scenarios. So as a trader, I couldn't tell you what's going to happen next. All I can tell you is should price come to the levels that I've mapped out, then I'm looking for a trigger point and I will react and I will look to take on the trade. Okay. What if the 61, 62k level doesn't hold? Are you shorting? No, I'm not going to be shorting because like I said, look, I can understand why others may short, right? But at the end of the day, I've explained my context. My context is based upon the higher time frame. And yeah, look, if people believe price is going to go higher, then fair enough. You know, they're entitled to their opinions. The way that I'm looking at price is that this is just a range-bound environment. I'd much rather be a buyer for as long as the early mid-level holds. Okay, we're still contained in an uptrend. We're still trading in terms of structure. You know, buyers have been stepping into this 50, 54, 55k level. We've not spent much time at these lows. So I'm looking for long opportunities, whether it's a pullback into continuation higher, okay? I'm sorry, I'm just reading through the chat, trying to see what some of the comments are, if there's any valid questions. But everything I do is based off the higher time frame context. And if you really want to keep it simple, okay? If you really want to keep it simple, clear your chart, okay? If you want to trade this, I'm not talking about investment purely from a trading perspective. Okay, there's your range highs. And you want to mark out your range lows. This is just another way to do it. This was the key demand zone, where price consolidated and printed new all-time highs. This is that consolidation where price is now respecting that level, okay? You can see that. There's the range lows, there's the range highs. Mark out the mids. Doesn't take much, 1 minute or so to pretty much map out the charts, okay? And where are we? We're pretty much at the mid-level, okay? So it's a bit dicey around this level, and like I said, there's a level of resistance at 65k, which I guess will test a lot of people's patience to get into a long position, or people are overly eager looking to short this. And like I said, when you zoom out and look at this from a daily perspective, you know, should we tap that liquidity above the previous swing high to the left, then, and we get back below this mid-level of 63k, we'll probably run these highs and we'll probably trade somewhere into this region here, which is round about the range quarter. So mid-range, range high, range low, run these highs. If it fails to hold this level and it doesn't continue on higher, which is the pullback scenario that I've suggested, if it does break back inside, then I think we at least take out these lows. If not, then potentially down to 59, 60k where the 12, 25 EMAs are into that quarterly range level. Look for a reaction, go long again, look for higher prices. Okay, that will be your shift in terms of lower high, lower low, a higher low, okay, into a higher high, into a higher low. Higher low in context of the previous swing point. And that's all there is to it, really. Okay. Let's move on to total 3. Oh, let's look at total 2, I should say, in terms of altcoins. This was a scenario that I had from many weeks ago. I thought we probably would get one pullback. I think I posted this back in, I can't remember, I think it was mid-August. One more pullback into the lows, and I want to see price push out of this to trade higher. Again, there's still a lot of work to be done here, in my opinion. But I am looking for that continuation pattern. For as long as, look, it's very simple for me. For as long as price holds this level here, okay? This was a previous range, sideways price action for the best part of 1.5 years. We finally broke above it. We've retested that level. And if you look at alts across the board that have retraced 70, 80, 90%, they really have provided some excellent buying opportunities to at least take on risk short term. Okay, so I don't really see anything significantly bearish about altcoins at this current juncture, but like I said, I am looking to be aggressive and look for buying opportunities on altcoins, and that will continue to be the case for as long as this structure is maintained. I think if we start trading below this level for whatever reason, then yeah, there's a big question mark on the continuation of altcoins rallying into Q4. Let's move on to total 3. Again, when you look at this structure of price, using this key swing low and this as a key swing high, or whether you want to use this one over here, it's entirely optional. Okay, look at where price is again. We kind of tapped that key demand zone here. We're holding above that level. We're trading back in this range. We're starting to push above the trend line here. Let's go into the 3-day chart. Okay, that to me is not a bearish structure for now. Okay, that to me is a corrective structure, a consolidation structure of multi-months. The fact that we've had 1, 2, 3 tests, very similar to Bitcoin, and we're unable to break this low, okay, that's ideal buying opportunities at these lows, okay, as long as price is holding structure here. Now, let me just bring back the trend scanner to give some context into this. When you look at the weekly, what have we done here? Okay, somebody tell me in the chat, what's happening here? What are you seeing? The 12 and the 21, death crossed. Sorry, the 12 and 25, death crossed. Price is now trading above the bands. Okay? What's important for me, which will give me the trigger, is we've had the bear signal here, but the minute this turns bullish, it's not often that you get 2 signals that goes from bear to bull, back to bear, and sells off. You generally get one signal and then very quickly another signal, which is generally the trend or the strength of the market direction. I'll show you an example of that on the lower time frames. But here's a classic example. Look, in a bear market, this flashed bullish. A few weeks later, back to bearish and continuation lower down, okay? So what I'm looking for is, again, price to hold this 12.25 level. And should it do that, and should price pull back into here, if Bitcoin does trade that 61K level or 62, you probably get a shallow pullback on altcoins. And what you want to be focusing upon is altcoins that you believe look structurally good, altcoins that have shown a level of strength. You're looking for those pullbacks to continue playing the momentum up, and also cycle into those altcoins that look primed, that eventually they will also have a run. And there's so many examples out there that I probably won't get to cover it on today's stream because I want to keep this relatively short. I just want to give you the high time frame context to think about, to give you the confidence to take on some trades, take on some positioning, as long as the preconditions that I'm talking about hold and are met. And that is, I want to see price hold this level, okay, on a weekly time frame. Now let's look at the daily. And again, this is just another example that I want to go over with you guys. In terms of when I talk about signals, okay, weaknesses or strength, I haven't really covered this in the past, but when you have structures that are bearish, okay, where prices swing, fail the highs, you've had an underside retest, you can see you got the bull signal, but look how short-lived the candles were in terms of green before they flipped to red, and you saw that continuation of a sell-off. Okay. Again, look at the time duration of how short-lived price was in a bullish momentum compared to the overall trend, red. You just get these pockets of green in a downtrend. Okay. Same again, continuation low down. Another pocket of green, followed by downtrend. Okay. What you want to see is essentially where this is a classic example here. Okay, watch. What gives you strength in the signal when it's quite noisy out there is you will get this low level of compression. Price gives you a bull signal, a bear signal, very quickly turns bull. There's your bull market. There's your bull run, okay? Or an extension to the upside now. Look at the time duration of the period that we were in the red. We were green, flip red, very quickly for a flip green, continuation high. You're going to see this on a lot of altcoins right now, where we are. Pay close attention to this. That's the flip in momentum that you want to see on altcoins, whether it's on the daily, on the 3-day, and eventually, probably not so much on the weekly, but on the 3-day certainly. Right, now looking at this, we've had this extended leg up in the market. Period of red, shorter period of green, price sells off. Okay, you can see sellers are in control of the market. Longer extended periods of reds than greens. Okay, now red, a pop of green, pulls back into red. Now we're getting an extension, probably the first time over the best part of a few months that we are seeing some form of continuation up. But what's important here is the fact that this is on the daily. But if you look at the weekly flip bearish here. If this is bullish, I want to see these bands cross back up. And this signal a bull condition. Any pullbacks, you've got to go with the trend. You have to go with the trend until you lose that level, okay? Think about that. I don't talk about that very often, but think about what the signals are actually telling you. The choppiness, the flipping of bull to bear, bear to bull, back and forth, okay, on the lower time frames. But then looking at the high time frame context, right? When you look at price, look at the period of red that we've had in terms of the 1225. I keep calling it 1221. It's a 1225. Very, very short-lived, and it could potentially flip green again. So, corrective pattern. If this gets continuation higher, then you really want to start thinking about positioning into altcoins, okay? And you haven't missed out on much. It's still very, very early. Okay? Is that clear? Now, I just want to give you one final food for thought, which is price structure. I want you to think about price structure now. When you look at Ethereum, I want to ask a question to the audience, and this is probably the last chart I'm going to focus on. We will have another session over the weekend where I think setups will become evidently clearer. When you look at this structure here, tell me what you're thinking in the chart. I'd like to see some comments, please. Look, we're in this range, okay? But what do you think of this current structure here? Does this look ready to go higher on the weekly time frame? Or are we likely to see further consolidation for the next several weeks at this region? What are you thinking? Needs more time? Retest the lows? Potentially, yeah. Could do, may not, right? But would you say, given the current conditions that you are in, looking at the market sentiment, looking at the macro sentiment, looking at this revived stimulation of liquidity picking up heading into Q4. Are we likely to just sell off from here, bounce, and then continue lower down? Or is this the first significant correction that we've had since we broke out of this 1.5 year range? We rallied, we've come back to retest the previous range consolidation. Okay, so I'm trying to be objective here, and I don't see the purpose in being bearish. I don't like to use the word bearish, okay, but I was very, very cautious back in April. I talked about this on the timeline back in March, April. I remember cashing out of Ethereum at 3,600. I opened some shorts. Okay, we caught the long move up. Okay, when we got that massive 2-3 day candle in Ethereum, which kind of ripped high. Okay, but like I said, it was just at these range highs into that supply zone here. Look at this. There's your range high. So we are still contained within the range. But what I really want you to think about, if you have fear of missing out and you think you've missed the altcoin bottom, is that there's still so much upside left ahead of you. Okay, just calm down. Don't panic. It's good. Okay, structural shifts take time. It's like a slow turning tide. This isn't, in my opinion, for now. Okay, and I could be wrong. I don't think this is going to be a reverse all the way back up. And I think there's a possibility. Again, I'm looking to be a buyer, not so much of Ethereum, but I use Ethereum as a proxy to think about altcoins, that we might just see one more pull back into this level. That may give you a bigger base from which price pushes on back to the range highs. Okay. I'm open to this possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if this does happen, I think you're going to see a level of fear. Oh no, like Ethereum's breaking down, Bitcoin's trading lower down. Shit. You know, I think you've got to go with the possibility that this could present a very good buying opportunity as long as these lows hold. Okay, you've got to take that risk. The risk to reward is so good there because you have a very clear invalidation level, unless something changes geopolitically or macro-wise. Okay. Now, what I want you to really think about as well is, can you see a similar structure on the chart anywhere else? If you look back in time, look at what happens here. Where was the highs? It was at $4,000, $4,000, $4,000. Okay. Price sells off significantly. Okay. Didn't fuck about. Straight to that level. Rallied up to where? 2700s. Rallied up to where? If you just drag this across the line, whoops. Into that similar zone. And what did price then do? Printed another low. You had 3 taps here. We've already had 1 push down 2. Okay. Price then gives a shallow rally. Is this another lower high into an equal set of lows? Is this another lower high into an equal set of lows? And then you get the push up. Okay, so that could be on the cards. I think should that happen, I will be looking to become a buyer, but we'll see what happens closer to the time. So again, just that's what I want you to think about is price, is context. The very first thing I said before I started looking at the Ethereum chart, look at the context, look at the structures. Forget everything else, forget the levels, just look at the possible structures that may play out. Understand what price might be doing and what it needs to do to turn around, what you need to see. Okay? Now, when you bring in the macro trend scanner, Ethereum does look suspect in comparison to total 2 and total 3 and the other alts. It has been inherently weaker than the other altcoins. So now when you drop onto the 3-day chart, we've just reverted back into the bands. That's your resistance there. Okay? We are still in a period of red. This is not an uptrend just yet. For me, this is a correction, the formation of a base, which keyword, right? Keyword here, may just give a pullback. I don't know where to. It may come down to retest the lows again. Ideally, I wouldn't want to see that because if that does happen, that obviously means Bitcoin has to trade significantly lower below the 60K level. So if Bitcoin trades 61K, then where does Ethereum pull back into? 2400, 23s, 22s? Okay, and then gives the reversal. Okay, that's what I'm thinking in this instance. You have this consolidation of a structure. Price trends up, consolidation, price rallies. aggressive sell-off, bounces, back into the lows, shallow bounce into the bands, back again. Compression of the bands, there's your bull signal. Price goes back to the highs. Are we going to see something similar? Compression of the bands, price pulls back, then you get the breakup higher into 4,000, okay? Yeah, ETH BTC looks questionable still. I mean, it's still in a downtrend. But does that make sense? Do you understand what I mean now by structure and context before you look at anything else? Okay, think about how it takes time for the tide to turn, especially after a sell-off. When you look at the daily, we've just flipped bullish, okay? Now, like I said, if, and it's the big question, if this is short-lived and it flips back into a bear signal, then that opens a probability that we're going to trade somewhere back into this region. And if that happens, you're probably going to get that pullback on altcoins over the coming weeks, okay? If that happens. If Bitcoin just gives a shallow pullback, then you might just get 2450 before you start seeing continuation up to 2000. If we get below the bands, then you've got to be targeting these lows here. May not print a new low, but you've got to be looking for this zone here to be thinking about buying into altcoins, and potentially, if you wish to position into Ethereum, a position into Ethereum, looking for that bounce back up, okay? That if sellers can't force this lower down and they get absorbed, then I think there's a good chance of reversal back up at least into that 3200 level. That to me is going to be a fantastic trading setup. All right. And when you look at the stock on the weekly, again, do you really want to be short in this market? I'm not so sure, okay? I'd much rather be looking for longs to the upside, okay? Let this play out to be a corrective structure, a structure that's going to take time to build a base. I don't think it's going to be a via reversal because we haven't really had any significant continuation that we should have. If this was the effects of the yen carry trade and this was an event-driven sell-off, then I don't think we would have been fucking around here for this many weeks. So, you know, again, looking to become a buyer. Don't want to fade this. Oscillating at the lows. Possibly, if you look at the RSI, it's probably hovering under the 50 or at the 50 level. Yeah, so again, once this starts crossing above 50, you want to go with the strength. You don't want to be fading this and looking for shorts into here, okay? Day trade, fine if you want to do that. I'm talking more about high time frame. Just give me 1 second, guys. Okay, any questions around that? I'm not going to cover alts. I think I've been on stream for 40, nearly 50 minutes, so you should kind of get the gist, okay? But understand what price is telling you, understand what positioning is telling you, understand what structures you need to see develop. Go back and test how many times you see structures like this just reverse from this point. You've got to see a bigger kind of a base building, and I think then you see continue for there a chance to be a real good continuation higher. Let's look at some altcoins. I'm just going to look at 1 or 2 altcoins. Say is one of my favorites. I've covered it on the timeline several times, and again, when you look at this is a much better example of strength in the market, right? Where you've had this downtrend into demand 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tests. I think I covered this. Did I cover this on stream last week? But beautiful. Very, very, very happy with this trade, okay? Stepped in at 27, 28. I'm holding my spot. I've taken some off my futures position. Captured a fairly decent move on futures account, okay? Now we are into that level of contention here. And like I said, say often lags SUI, okay? But again, case study. You don't have to be a genius in this market. You just got to understand structures. And again, when you just use the example of the bands here, look at this. Classic example of what I just talked about. This is what you want to see on altcoins, okay? Question number 1. What is the trajectory or velocity of the bands telling you? Okay, are they going? Is this going sideways or is it going down? And look at the velocity and the trajectory of price. Look at this on the way up. Do you want to be fading this momentum? Not really. Okay. And then step number 2 is when you look at price across the board and you see this type of structure, how the fuck is this bullish? You spent half your time trying to short shit like this. You finally give up. You switch long into distribution when price is starting to go sideways, as indicated by the bands, and now you're trying to fucking long the market. You're looking for price to go to $3, $4, $5 at this point. The fact that you've now essentially got a range here and you've got another swing high over here. Okay, if this was bullish, this level should have held. Swing fail this, close back inside, trade support, underside retest. But remember what I told you earlier? Bear flips into bull very, very quickly, continuation higher. This is bearish, flips into bullish, but look at that. Very, very short period of being bullish, flips back to being bearish. That's where, you know, structurally, this is a cause of concern, and we're likely to trade into lower down, and the rest is history, right? But what I want you to think about, forget that now. That's probably a future lesson for thinking about how to take profits. We'll come back to that later if we get a fairly extensive rally in altcoins. Now look at this. Price has come down, okay? Let's go back to the 3-day chart, or in fact, we'll stay on the daily. Find supports, okay? You need to see a range develop. This is your swing low. This is your swing high. This is going to be your defined probable range as long as this low holds. Let's run it forward. Look at the trajectory of the bands here and then watch the trajectory of the bands here. See that slowdown in pace? Look at the angle of elevation and look at the angle of elevation. Now watch price cross over and under the bands, okay? You got a bear signal there into the lows. Look at this lack of selling. Look at the lack of volume, okay? Price is down significantly from the highs of 115 into 26. And the reason I'm covering this, because you will see the same structure on altcoins that are lagging that have yet to run, okay? You should be able to define very good setups on projects that are fundamentally sound or meme coins. What I'm looking for here is there's many ways you can map this out. First of all, you've got a possible trend line break, okay? You want to see a break in trend line, whether it's this point or whether it's somewhere from up here, okay? Second point is, let me just clean up the chart. Sorry, just give me 1 second. There's your consolidation zone, okay? This is a downtrend, okay? We're starting to develop a form of a range here. We've got a bull cross, okay? Back into a bear. Into this key demand zone. Prices retrace all this inefficiency here. What I'm looking for now at this point is that, one, we're at the range lows, okay? This is my swing low. This is my key swing range high over here. That's the range I'm working with. I want to see sideways price action to continue or to think about building a position here. Bull, bear, bull. See that? That 3 toggle switch, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what the fuck to call it, but went from bullish, quickly into bearish, back into bullish, expansion to the upside. That's what you want to be looking out for on altcoins, okay? Go to the 3-day. What do we have? The bands are starting to compress. Look at that curvature. We're still not out of this range at this present point in time. This is on the 21st of September. But you want to start seeing expansion and a shift in structure. Have we broken structure yet? Have we created a higher high? We've got a higher low at this point. Doesn't mean shit, because we haven't got a higher high just yet. Now we've got our high high, okay? So again, when you look at this from this point of view, we've pushed above the bands, okay? We're into this first significant level of SR. You go to the 3-day chart now. Look at the bands developing. The momentum is shifting here. You really want to be thinking about pullbacks. And remember what I said, that when sellers are exhausted and the books are very, very thin, it's not going to take a great deal of volume to push price higher. And you want to be latching on to any pullbacks now with a bit of an aggression. You've got your invalidation now at these lows here. Should price pull back into 32, 33 and holds and pushes on, I'm looking to continue longing this on my futures account whilst I maintain my spot position. Okay. Trader XO, you missed a macro bottom in 2022. Yeah, but I also shorted the top into the bottom. But like I said, it doesn't really matter. I'm not gonna get every top and bottom. I think people obsess with tops and bottoms too much. And I made it very, very clear to answer your question. Look, I think it's a good point, and it doesn't bother me. It doesn't piss me off. I just wish people would actually understand that you need to lose this fascination about nailing the absolute bottom, or I was bearish at the bottom. Let's put some records straight. First of all, I was short from here, okay? I traded it all the way down into this level. 18K, I called it a day. I didn't know that FTX was going to implode, right? So obviously I'm cautious. Now you tell me, right, that, again, I'll give you two examples here. This is one from June 2022 through to October 2023. I've traded this range several times. Longs and shorts, okay? Into the mid. Shorts into the mid. I didn't short at the mid. Clearly look at my streams. People find it hard to understand, but had I bought a spot outright here versus trading price, okay? Took some longs, took some shorts. My net gain was far significant trading this range than had I traded just spot price, okay? That's my point. And the same is very applicable here, okay? I've had very little spot exposure during these last several months. Yet I've openly shared my thoughts all the way from January with trader orders and flow. We longed this, we talked about this, shared the setup, longed into new highs, long this, and then 54 last week or the week before. Every time has given a 10K bounce. This was from 40K to 50, 60, 70K. So my net gain from just purely trading has outperformed me whether I bought Bitcoin and just held it all the way up. And that's me. That's personally just my style of trading. You have to understand that this isn't for everybody. This is just my way of being comfortable trading Bitcoin. If I can't outperform Bitcoin on the way up, then I should stop trading, full stop. Okay, but I back myself as a trader to outperform Bitcoin on the way up versus just holding spot all the way from trying to nail the bottom, okay? How many times did you see people call long, bottoms in, 30K, bottoms in? Nope, it keeps going lower. Why do you think funds and accounts blow up? Traders lost a fuck ton of money. Yeah, I'm one of the few fuckers who's actually making money on the way down. Then I get a lot of shit, XO, you miss the bottom. Well, not really, because there's trading opportunities all throughout the market. And it's the same concepts here for the last 6 months, right? What's price done? It's done nothing but range-bound price action. If you've held spot over the last 6 months, chances are I've probably made way more money than anybody in terms of relativeness, or even myself, had I just bought spot and held it here. What's my gain? If I bought even from 53 or 40, 42 to 63K, 20K, big deal. But in between there's a 10K bounce, there's another bounce, there's another bounce, there's a shorting opportunity. There's a lot more money to be made in a range than holding. So that's my point. Okay, so you can win journey all you want. If you're that good, why don't you step up and get your ass on stream and stream for other people to take your views and opinions? All right. End of story. I'm not having a go at you. I'm just telling you the facts. Nobody's going to nail the tops and the bottoms. I'm not going to do it all the time either. And that's just the nature of trading. You have to accept that, whether you like it or not. But I just want to point out that there are times when you can actually be very, very profitable from trading, okay? That's the point of what I try to explain. When it's a range, the range is there to be milked. One of my strengths is trading the range. When price is trending, I take less trades. Just let price do what it wants, okay? So again, I'm going to go over another example in terms of altcoins here. And Wormhole, look, is another example. Again, when you look at the trend scanner, okay, if you look at the longevity of the bands in terms of the direction and the trend, the period of red, we had one flash of bull and it turns back into selling. Now, what I'm looking for here, essentially, I think this is a really good opportunity. This is another one that I've positioned into off the September monthly open. And such that if Bitcoin does give that pullback, then I am looking to just keep chipping away into a position. If we lose the level, I'll just sit back and wait for it to flip again. So I don't know whether the lows are in. They could very well be, but as far as I'm concerned, this is the range where I'm looking to build a position, okay? Because we've been here now for 2 months, August and almost at the end of September. If we push on higher, fine, I've got some exposure. I'll wait for the next pullback. If we break down below the bands, I'll just wait for it to flip and go back into position, looking for price to kind of give the acceleration to the upside. Okay, so that's just another example there that you can look at. Again, when you look at the 3-day chart, it's just into those bands. What I'm looking for to see momentum, keyword, strength and momentum, is the bands compressing, price trading above it. Then you're going to see that acceleration to the upside, okay? And finally, let's look at SUI as an example of what's happened and the momentum it's played out. When you look at the daily, okay, so again, in this instance where you've got price coming into a level of support, okay, period of red, first sign of strength in the market, we get a segment of green, flips bearish, but again, now look at this, look how short-lived it is, flips back above. Let's just circle this area here. This is where the key transition was. Now go to the 3-day. Where did the 3-day compress and cross? Right in that spot. Where did it flip bullish? There. There's your shift in momentum to the upside. That's how you identify momentum early. Yeah, but you could say, I understand your comment about projects like Wormhole with fucked up tokenomics prevents you from buying them. You're not buying them for the long term. If the market's going to go up, it's going to go up regardless of the supply. I thought that about Solana when Solana was $3 in 2020 or 2019, that there's a shitload of Solana coming onto the market. How is this ever going to go up? And look what Solana did. Went to $200 from $3. Ended up chasing it from $20 to $200. So I think you've just got to be objective and look at price and strength. The best time to look at tokenomics is when you're in a bear market, because that is going to add significant sell pressure. But you think about it, if you're an investor and you're in Wormhole, right, and you've got your tokens, are you really going to capitulate at these lows after what's been a significant sell-off? Anybody who's puked has puked. Think about sentiment, think about participants, think about market. Look at the small-bodied candles. What are they telling you here? That sellers are exhausted. The books are very thin to the upside. Once the momentum ignites, price is going to pick up pace. You're looking for that crossover to flow with momentum. So that's why I really, really like the opportunities that are ahead of us. Okay, and once sentiment picks up, trust me, you look at SUI, right? As an example, no, that's SUI, that's a stock SUI. Look at people trying to chase this now all of a sudden, from here and here and here. People want to chase momentum. People start fear of missing out. Buyers start piling in. And then where people really screw up is, again, when you look at this, right, why in your right mind, after what has been a 6-month sell-off, why in your right mind are you trying to short this? People are trying to short this over here, then here, then here. Oh, look, price is coming to resistance here. This has probably got to this is going to be a good shorting opportunity. There's not even been a pullback, and price just rips through. What happens is people start piling into shorts. Shorts pay to open their positions. They get puked, caught offside, they puke, price goes higher. So not only do you have spot buyers and perp longs piling into momentum, you've got shorts trying to pile in an uptrend. And if you just stick to a simple set of moving averages and a simple set of rules, right? Why in your right mind would you want to be shorting when look at the trajectory of the bands? Okay, so this is what I want you to think about. If we do get an extensive rally into Q4, right, you've got a very simple system to follow here. And I'm giving you that system on this stream. When you've got the bands pushing up in this trajectory, why are you trying to fade this? What you will see at some point, okay, is this. Look at the trajectory. Then when price tails off, now look at the trajectory of the bands. Is this still going up or is this going sideways? Now you have a defined range. There's your swing high. You've got a swing point at somewhere along these lines. Okay, let me just mark that out again. You've got a swing high to work with. First significant swing. Okay, where did it come into this low here? Okay, another swing high takes out the previous high, but look at the bands. There's your signal and shifting context. Now you want to be thinking about taking profit if it gets back under, because you've had a failed attempt and it's likely to go back into the mid. And if you can't hold the mid, underside retest, it's likely to go to the range lows. And if that doesn't hold, there's your breaking structure. Now what are you going to do? You're going to puke it down here? Or you're going to start long in the market all the way down because you can't shift your context? When you were already forewarned that momentum is slowing down, price is going in a range. The bullish case scenario, right? Let's just take it a step back. The bullish case here would have been, in this situation, what have I covered with you today? If this was a weekly band, you want to see price get... Look at this. It's compressing under the bands. It will eventually pop to the upside. What you want to see, if this is a range that's been defined, is consolidation, a reaccumulation, then continuation higher. What you don't want to see is price do something like this. Run the highs, come back inside. I would absolutely be looking to get out of the market at that point. Because I know I can step back in if we get continuation above here. It's going to come back into the mid. There's your range. Now, what are you going to do when price gets back under the bands again? That's a second signal now to get out of the market. Let's run it forward. And this is how you can recognize the differences, subtle differences between reaccumulation and distribution. Reaccumulation, you want to see price just stay within this range for a longer period of time and eventually it will crack up. But when you see price make these sharp moves up, gets back inside and it can't even hold this and it trades back to the mid and that can't hold and back to the lows, then you hope this holds, because if that doesn't hold, there's your breaking structure. You're probably going to get something like a trap back inside the range and sell back out again, okay? Now, if you run this forward, let's see how this plays out. We've got it back above the bands, back to the highs. That would have been your case to get out. Sorry, I've let it go too fast. Underside retest of the mid, sells off. Didn't even establish a phase of reaccumulation. So these are the subtleties that you want to start looking for. Again, when I clear all the crap off the charts, if this was bullish, why have we lost the bands here? And this is before it even breaks the lows, right? There's your range lows, there's your mid-range, there's your range highs, there's the swing fail, deviation on high volume. Look at the wicks, 3 wicks at the highs. Gets back into the mid, the bands are rolling over. You want to get out. You don't even want to be... all right, you'd have to short the market. You just want to take some profit because you want to think, I might be able to buy the range lows, or I might be able to buy a deviation if it gets back inside and hold. And if it can't hold and it fills out, well, guess what? You're protecting your drawdown. And this is where people fuck up. This is where people screw up because they don't know when or how to get out of the market after a rally. And I'm trying to forewarn you of that. If we do get an extensive altcoin rally in Q4, these are the signs that you want to be thinking about to get out of the market. Not people telling you that it's a bull market. Why the fuck are you shorting? Why are you taking profit? You should be looking for even higher prices. Look at what the chart is telling you. All right, look, underside retest, as clean as you like. Price sells off. So again, when you think of that, there's no reason to be shorting this. It's a reversion back into the bands, continuation higher, until you get trajectory going sideways, okay? Then you can start thinking about maybe it's time to take profit, but you don't want to be shorting on the left-hand side of distribution. You want to wait for the tail side of distribution with weakness by the bands to get out of the market, And that's all there is to it, okay? So again, simple tool, simple strategy, yet people still will continue shorting alts on the way up over the coming weeks. And unfortunately, that's just the market for you. It is what it is. Just don't be that individual who's trying to fade this. It's not worth it. If you want to sell something like this, you want to see, I don't know, distribution pattern, breakdown, price loses the bands, there's your trigger to go short. Now you can think about trading it all the way back down into support. Okay, that's all there is to it. So there's so many charts out there that are looking really good. Tensor is another one. I know they've got some hefty supply locks. It's building a base. We're not in that momentum phase yet. Okay, what's another chart? I think then you've got coins like WIF, which I think are great for trading. It's certainly showing some momentum out of this consolidation pattern since June, July, August, September. So again, you know, we've just pushed out of this range here. Okay, what I would like to see, if Bitcoin pulls back and Ethereum pulls back, you may just get a retest off this level here, a higher low. Look, you can map out a trend line there. Higher high, higher high, higher high, higher low, higher low, higher low. You want to see this hold as a higher low into this range low. That to me would be a very, very good setup. Somewhere in there, and I would be looking for this level, $263, and above there, well, you're in trend territory at that point. You've got to go back for all-time highs, okay? So there's two ways you can trade this. Long from a pullback, going to the highs, taking some partials along the way, maybe take some profit, pullback, back above, trend continuation to this high, this high, this high. There's your range, okay? That's where you want to be doing your business. Same with Vanry. There's nothing really much to say. I think Vanry looks fine for now. It's building, or what I hope is building a base. You know, it's still the early days. We're still maybe range bound for a period of time. This might just do this over the coming weeks. Then we get the push up. Or it might just give a shallow pullback and take off. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you. Same with Jupiter. Jupiter looks good. But again, look, we're just into that level of resistance. Maybe we just get one more push lower down, okay, into here, and then we get the breakout. At least targeting these highs, then you've got the range highs. There's your range lows, okay? So very, very good risk to reward setups. 2R, 4R, 5R, 6R, whatever you want to call it, but some very good setups here. That's going to give you 4R, that's going to give you 8, 9R. You're looking to buy these lows here, or you can wait. You're either going to get price pull back into a high low, or you're going to get a run of the lows, step back inside. There's your second attempt at the trade. Now you're looking to trade the mid and then the high. This gives you greater probability that this is ready to go to the mid-level. You might just get a shallow pullback. You've just got to have some balls about you. Step inside and look to trade it to the mid with a clear invalidation at the lows. Gito is another one that I think looks fairly decent for a trade setup. Again, you can think of this as a double bottom. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Pull back into this level. I'd be looking for longs. Think of structure, look. Think of structure. Anybody kind of know what this is? What is the structure here that I'm drawing? What do we call this structure? There's a name for it. It has to hold, of course. Yeah, Adam and Eve, okay? So again, do we get another pullback? Do these lows hold? If they do, that's a good opportunity for risk, taking on the trade. All right. That's it. That's it from me, folks. I think that's enough streaming for me. I didn't want to spend too long, but I've only gone on out, done myself, and spent an hour and 15 on the stream. But I enjoy teaching. You know, I don't claim to be the best trader in the world. I just know what works well for me, and hopefully the knowledge that I pass on these streams will serve you well for Q4, and I really like the opportunities that are ahead of us. And if it all goes tits up, then so be it. We just have to manage our risk, but I'm going to remain optimistic heading into Q4. I really like some of the structures, some of the setups. Yeah, I think there's a good chance we see continuation. or I'm hoping we see continuation. I don't know. I only know as much as you guys. I don't have a crystal ball. I just go off the structure, what price is telling me, what sentiment is telling me, positional, macroeconomic factors, liquidity, and invalidations. And as long as, you know, we maintain Bitcoin holding 58, 60K, Ethereum holding 2,000, maybe we get some pullbacks on altcoins, then we get that structure that goes continuation higher, okay? Break this, and we go higher. And we can all celebrate. Have a great week ahead. I'll catch you possibly next week on Monday. But good luck with your trading, and take care.